Ladies, gentlemen, robots, lizard people, variants thereupon, it is my sincerest pleasure to inform you that this month we will not just be vehemently avoiding the reporting of any and all aspects related to that of the COVID plague-like, well, the plague, as per my mandate back in March of this year, but we will also be avoiding any discussion revolving around the race riots and George Floyd. Why? The short answer is that I have very little desire to address either when they've been beaten to death, poor choice of words there, Weebo, yes I know, so ferociously by so many on the interwebs. The long answer, however, is that if I were to address either topic in a video, you can rest assured that both would be a long-form deep dive, seeking to address all aspects of their respective subjects, doing each a thorough justice. At least that would be my hope. And perhaps, I don't want to get ahead of anything, but you might get those videos someday. But for now, I hope that you can satiate yourself with the simpler, easier, more mundane stories that I have for you today. So here we go. We begin with some light stories pulled from the archive to remind you of one solitary truth, and that is that reality is hilarious and thus should be regarded as such appropriately. Once upon a time, I myself was a petulant child, as I'm sure you can all relate, and with that petulance obviously comes the added bonus of self-independence and a hefty amount of defiance, as one Utah mother found when a state patrol officer, returned her child to safety after an argument where she had refused to buy her 5-year-old a Lamborghini. Not one to take no for an answer, the 5-year-old in question, Jimothy What's-His-Face, decided to take the matter into his own hands, collecting all of his $3, and decided to make the multi-state road trip by himself all the way to California. Dagnabbit. Dream big, kid, dream big. Said 5-year-old only made it about 5 minutes into his road trip before he was pulled over on the interstate for reckless driving. In other news, in addition to the world being subjected with one Wu flu, the utter devastation of these United States as we know it, the eruption of Krakatoa, the birth of the Antichrist, probably, and God Kobeing Kobe Bryant out of the sky, the year of our Lord 2020 has promised us murder hornets in addition to all of that. Not one, but 2 species of giant Asian hornets have invaded the Pacific Northwest ahead of the far less intimidating People's Republic of China ground forces so that they can effectively dismantle our honeybee and, by extension, agricultural industry wholesale before the actual invasion begins, weakening our support system, effectively rendering us a useless fighting America. This is a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top. Moving on before I get Epsteined. Today in sexism, we harken back to a simpler time. Not that simple. The year was 2013 when the debate about manspreading first appeared in the mainstream media, but it wasn't until the year of our Lord 2020 that manspreading went from a charming meme to mind-numbingly dense in the form of manspreading while running. Let's unpack this gendered language that somehow coexists in a world and to the same people trying to dismantle the gender binary. Why don't we? Going for a run. How could that be problematic, you may be asking? Well, it's simple. Our author follows a simple code of conduct whilst running, making herself smaller, squeezing by on the edge of the path, and even refraining from breathing when passing people, creating this aspect of smallness and non-threatening persona that's unnoticed by other people. And it is absolutely something that no one told her was necessary, but that she just does naturally. And by using simple observation, she has concluded emphatically that # a considerable number of men do not adhere to her silent standards imposed upon her, by her, for her, exclusively. While, on the opposite side of this, women did, according to her oh-so-scientific method of seeing what you want in people you're jogging past, in fact, adhere to this standard as well, I guess. There is a great deal more that I could go into summarizing this article and all of its whining and ugh. But in essence, the problem that the author has with the inequity of women self-regulating to create a comfortable space versus men not doing any of that can be reconciled simply by just not self-regulating. Like, at all. Like, problem solved. It's that simple. Then, in this will most definitely piss you the fuck off news, we have this stellar piece of footage hailing all the way from the faraway land of Canada of a Star Wars Day promotion from one Cocoa Vanilla Galactic Cantina going entirely wrong in all of the worst ways.
Stop being a ghost. Stop.
It's a plastic gun. Are you serious?
Shit, that's a girl, man. Fuck. He's got the fucking shotguns. Why?
Closed area. Stay back. Let's go. Seriously.
This is Canada. We don't have guns in Canada.
Go record us, but don't come approaching us. Stay back there like everybody else.
Okay, but this is Canada. That's not a gun. It's a plastic gun. I could buy that at the dollar store.
You're gonna get arrested if you interfere here. Stay back.
Furthermore, in the aftermath, the employee of Coca Vanilla Galactic Cantina was in fact arrested and placed in a vehicle, but was subsequently released at the scene with no charges having been filed, so I guess what the fuck was the point of that? It seems like the police were called due to the employee brandishing the toy blaster for the promotional, you know, the one that all stormtroopers are regulated to wear in uniform. All I have to say to that is that, honestly, no stormtrooper in the history of all of Star Wars has ever posed a real threat with a blaster due to their abysmal aiming abilities. So, this call would have been a galactic waste of time even if the blaster had been the real deal. Let's be honest, people. The employee in question sustained a bloody nose as a result of all of the previous hullabaloo that you just saw on the screen, which you can't entirely make out in the video, but, however, we do have a picture of the blood stain on the pavement after the fact. Continuing on with absolute derps of the brain from the gallery of knuckleheads that we have at our disposal, because the internet is just a wide, eclectic collection of all of these things, let us flawlessly transition into my favorite shit show to watch, American politics.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on. Take a look at the record.
Yes. You did just hear the former vice president and current Democratic candidate for president of these United States correctly, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't intend on voting for Joseph sniffing all of the children Biden, then you ain't black. Will somebody please let this man enjoy whatever remains of his deteriorating brain cells in peace and fucking quiet? Please, I am begging y'all. Hasn't he had enough? In addition to that previous spectacle of sadness, the Senate fumbled what would have been an absolute win for them in a vote that allows the FBI to look into your web browsing history without a warrant. One moment. You just gotta delete a couple things here. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. You can thank a mix of Democrats and Republicans for such a violation of your constitutional rights in a vote that was intended to cripple the Patriot Act, which was a hasty piece of legislation pushed forward after a certain terrorist attack that leveled a pair of towers gave law enforcement basically the eye of Sauron over unsuspecting American citizens in 2001. Of the senators that do not value your privacy concerns as American citizens, we have such fine and upstanding congressional members of our Senate, elected senatorial body, as Bernie Sanders, who could not bother to even show himself to said vote. But also, in addition to that, we have Mitt Romney, Dianne Feinstein, Marco Rubio, and so many more. They're all listed here. Enjoy. Hot diggity boyo, will you look at that list? Last but not least, I am pleased to report that two lucky assholes from this Earth, yes, the one we're standing on, one by the name of Bob Benkin, the other by the name of Doug Hurley, have docked with the International Space Station just this past Sunday in a last-ditch effort to get the fuck out of Dodge during the midst of what is surely Armageddon. But also is an important milestone in the first SpaceX mission, to be followed by more missions to low Earth orbit, the moon, and finally, the big boy, Mars. Fiend! That's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all of the stories that no one really gives a fuck about because we're all too busy being petty on Twitter over this and that or throwing Molotov cocktails at each other to pass the agonizing amount of free time that we don't know what to do with right now. Join me next month, ladies and gentlemen, when my bedroom door is busted inwards by a mix of Antifa, BLM protesters, alt-right supremacist plants, and police officers just checking to see if I am social distancing appropriately while white.